be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. When Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of King Herod, behold, Magi from the east arrived in Jerusalem, saying, "Where is the newborn King of the Jews? We saw his star at its rising, and have come to do him homage." When King Herod heard this, he was greatly troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. Assembling all the chief priests and the scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Christ was to be born. They said to him, "In Bethlehem of Judea. For thus it has been written through the prophet, 'And you, Bethlehem, land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah, since from you shall come a ruler who is to shepherd my people Israel.' When Herod called the Magi secretly and ascertained from them the time of the star's appearance, he sent them to Bethlehem and said, 'Go and search diligently for the child. When you have found him, bring me word, so that I too may go and do him homage.' After their audience with the king, they set out. And behold, the star that they had seen at its rising preceded them, until it came and stopped over the place where the child was. They were overjoyed at seeing the star, and on entering the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother. They prostrated themselves and did him homage. Then they opened their treasures and offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they departed from their country by another way. The Gospel of the Lord. Happy feast day, the feast day of the Epiphany, and it basically means that's like a revelation. It's God is exposing himself, letting him known to the rest of the world that he came not just to save Israel, but the whole world. So the readings that we've read so far have been more focused on Israel. He's saved Israel. He comes to be the Redeemer of Israel. He's the Anointed One. It's almost all about Israel. Now is a revelation. It's like, okay, you got these Magi who are pagans, and they come to acknowledge the King. They come to adore the Lord. And it's interesting to see the events that go on, because the Magi aren't just pagans. I mean, they are like the worst of all pagans. I mean, they worship the stars, they worship the nature, and they put curses on people. You know, people would hire these people, Magi, out to put curses on others. So by today's standards, they'd be like devil worshippers by today's standards. And so you can imagine all the eyebrows that would raise. Okay, pagans, but the worst of all pagans. You know, these are people you didn't want them to know about you because they could put a curse on you if they knew about you. So you want to stay away from them. And here they are coming to Jesus. They're coming to adore the Lord. The pagans, the worst of all pagans, are coming to adore our God, our King. So first of all, that says our faith matters. We've got the truth. We've got the real God. Right? So to say, oh, it doesn't really matter. No, it does matter. It does matter what we believe. Because what you believe, you live out. What you believe, you act on. Right? If you think that the Packers are going to win the Super Bowl, you're going to act like it. Right? If you believe that the Cubs are going to win the next World Series, you're going to act like it. If you believe that Jesus is God, you're going to act like it. But the thing is, this really is God. You know, if the Cubs win, who knows? But God is God. And these kings acknowledge that. And so all the other nations, all other religions, they're going to bow down before our God. Not to us, before our God. That's awesome. And imagine this. These guys, okay, who have cursed people and everything, have done all sorts of bad things. They're walking how many miles? I don't know. But they walked, 2 years? It was 2 years. They were on foot for 2 years, walking across many countries with valuable objects. You think about the faith that these men would have. They're following a star. They're following some prophecy. I mean, you don't even know what you're following. They don't even know what they're following. This is some king. Somebody human as far as they know. As far as they're following a star. They're following a star for however many miles, 2 years, going through countries that are not necessarily friendly to them, people who could steal from them easily all this valuable material, walking through all the weather, no guarantee of having a lodging, all the difficulty that they would have to overcome just to get there to see somebody. You think about the faith that they would have to go through all that and to make the decision, I'm going to follow this. I'm going to follow this star. I'm going to take this risk my own life, the people around me that I bring with me, and my riches, to go and bend my knee before the King of Jerusalem. How far do we have to travel to get to Mass? 5 miles? In a car with air conditioning and heat? Nobody stopping us on the way to try to steal from us? How much do we bring to Jesus? They bring gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And so we look at the faith that these guys would have. Pagans. Why would they do that? I tell you, there's got to be some sort of hope of redemption to really walk 2 years. I mean, to go and walk and to see your God. There had to have been some sort of hope. If you're that much of a sinner, the sinner of sinners, the Magi would have been. They had to have some sort of hope that God would receive them. That's the kind of faith I'm talking about. This is not a natural faith. This is a supernatural faith. This is the theological virtue of faith. It's beyond human hope. It's hope beyond hope. And so they have that faith. Somehow, possibly, maybe God would receive them as sinners as they are. And this is what the good news of the Epiphany. The revelation that God is so merciful and loving. And I think of Mary and all the eyebrows raising around her. What's going on here? Those who put curses on people, those who are enemy, those who are the enemy of God, they're coming here. What's going on here? The shepherd boys, the vagabonds, as they were called in their time, they're coming in, adoring of the Lord, coming to this house. What's going on here? Wasn't Mary? Mary was pregnant, but not with Joseph. What's going on here? Yes, that's the wisdom of God and the power of God. And that gives us hope because know that we might be the vagabonds, we might be the biggest sinners, we might be the Magi. And God would still be willing to extend His mercy to us, His love to us, as He extended it to the Magi. Look, if He extended that to the Magi, hey, we got hope. We really got hope if the Magi was received. And on top of that, I think of Mary. Here, they go and see, and what do you do when there's a newborn baby? Everybody gets to hold the baby sometimes, So Mary, here, you want to hold my baby? Think about that. The hands that cursed people got to hold Jesus. The hands that did so much evil in the world got to hold the Maker, not knowing yet that he would die on the cross for them. Wow. Isn't that a different picture of who God is? It's a different picture of hope. Man, we do have hope. To know that God is so merciful, and even in our darkest hour in our lives, he's there. He didn't just redeem Israel. He redeemed the whole world. He redeemed us. We were the pagans. None of us have really much of Jewish background, and even if we do, it's probably mixed. So at best, we'd be Samaritans. At best. We were the pagans. We were the outcasts. We were the ones that had no hope. And yet here he is, promising us salvation, giving us his very self on this altar in the Eucharist, sharing his body, blood, soul, and divinity, his very self, his body, given up for us. In our darkest hour, even there still is a light, because God is with us. No matter what kind of sins we have committed in our life, God is with us. We just have to be with him. So I think of the faith that the Magi had to follow this light for many, many miles. And to know that the faith that they would have to carry on to get through there, and all the trials that they'd have to work through to get to Jesus. Our faith that we have, in retrospect, isn't necessarily any worse. The Magi had to travel many, many miles. We have to travel many, many years. And throughout those years are many trials. And God sees us. And the Magi saw God. They saw him, they held him, they knew him. We see and hold Jesus here in the Eucharist, but that's about it. We see him, but he's veiled under the presence of what we see as bread and wine, but is in fact Jesus. So the faith that we need to carry on for the many years of our lives has to be great. And it's not a natural faith, it's a supernatural faith, it's a theological faith. It's a faith in God. And so in looking at what happened with the Magi, having to struggle all those 2 years of traveling, gives us hope that we could know that God is with us too. He is just as much with us as he was with them. And in many ways, his physical manifestation comes to us every day so that we can be with him. When the Magi appeared there, Mary said, "Here, you want to hold my child. You want to hold God." That invitation is extended to you every day as you receive him in the Eucharist. Jesus says, "Here, do you want to hold me? I'll let you hold me. Please hold me." And then in turn, he holds us. He gives us all the graces that we need to carry on, to carry our crosses. He is our strength. He is our light that we follow. And so we keep following him. We keep following him. Because without him, it's nothing. It's him or nothing. That's it. him or nothing. And so we hold him. We hold him in our hearts, giving him the gold, frankincense, and myrrh in our heart. Not the things of the world, but in our heart, because that's what he wants. He wants the sacrifice of our hearts. And when we hold him close to our heart, he shares himself with us. And the Magi were strengthened. They have seen a great light. And they return joyful and changed and transformed. They gave up their pagan ways. They gave up the ways of blessing and gave up the ways of cursing and followed the way of blessing. And so we too follow in the steps of the Magi to give up the ways of cursing, of sin, trusting in him that he would hold us and that we get to hold him, our Lord, our King, and our God. We thank God we've had this great epiphany, this great revelation of God's salvation, not only to the goody two-shoes, but to the sinners, those who live in darkness, those who are wounded by sin, sins of themselves and sins by others. We rejoice that he would allow us to hold him, us, the pagans, the Magi, that he would give us this great epiphany.